world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health, and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health, and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health.
Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI, and meningitis. Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI, and meningitis. Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI, and meningitis. Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI, and meningitis. Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI, and meningitis.
Good evening, doctors. At first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ram Prasad Yadav, DSM Delhi. I look after entire Delhi and NCR region. Doctors, an excellent evening to respected doctors, seniors, and each individual present here. I would like to express my deepest respect to all our distinguished guests and participants. Standing here before an audience, comparing individuals with such a great wisdom, experiences, and achievements, give me the moment filled with the enormity of the responsibility this appoints and brings. Respected doctors, I would like to tell you about Alkem Labs. Doctor, this year we are celebrating 50th anniversary of Alkem Labs. In anti-infective segment, Alkem holds #1 position and 21st world-class manufacturing units in India and US. Doctor, global presence across the globe in more than 60 countries worldwide. Doctor, strong portfolio we are doing in more than 1,000+ brands and focus on R&D, a team over 500 scientists focused on formulation developments. So it's our endeavor to ensure access to antibiotics. So doctor, today we are here to discuss ceftriaxone. Revisiting ceftriaxone for optimal outcome in ICU setup. Today our guest speaker is Ma'am Dr. Meenakshi Jain. She is one of the most eminent doctors of Delhi NCR. She has done MBBS MD from Maulana Azad Medical College. She has done FRCP from Glasgow. Currently, she is head of medicine department at Max Hospital, Patparganj. She is director at Max Group of Hospitals. She has done master class in diabetes complications from Royal College of Physicians, United Kingdom in 2018. She is having 24 years of experience in practicing as a consultant in various hospitals like Maulana Azad Medical College, Kailash Group of Hospitals, and Max Group of Hospitals. She is life member of various national and international forums like RSS, DI, API, published various scientific papers in diabetes. She also received Max Chairman Award for Best Doctor, WEF Award for being Women of Impact, IMA Award for year 2020 and 21. Professor B.C. Bansal Award in 2021. Moreover, GME Award for being Doctor of Excellence in year 2021. It was brief introduction of Dr. Meenakshi Jain. So now I would like to call Dr. Meenakshi Jain on dais for carrying through today's discussion. Welcome Dr. Meenakshi Jain. Come on dais. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ram. Indeed, it was quite illustrative introduction of the program. And my name is Alhad Arun Joshi. I am a senior marketing manager. Before I begin the program, I must congratulate and compliment my entire Delhi team, from the Ram under the leadership of Saurav, Deepak, as well as my head office colleague Chaitanya, along with my regional manager and area managers. Those have actually worked really hard since last 10 days, because doctors group meeting is actually the effort intensive program, and it requires a lot of persuasion and time. And then on this occasion, I sincerely give my thanks to all August audience sitting out here for sparing time on a Sunday. And my sincere thanks and compliments to Dr. Meenakshi Jain for raising this occasion and accepting our invite as a speaker for this. Before I get into the agenda, I would like to compliment to all the mothers sitting out here as an happy Mother's Day. So my sincere compliments and thanks and gratitude to all the great mothers sitting out here. I'm very happy to share with you that this format is all about phygital in nature. So what we have been talking about is actually Start Strong Phygital Seminar. And the phygital stands for physical plus digital. So I'm extremely happy to share with you that barring almost 20 odd August audience sitting out here, there are almost 950 doctors, those who are actually got registered across the country for this program called as Start Strong. And then we would have now almost 180 doctors, those are live looking at this program. As I said, that Start Strong Phygital Seminar is all about making an effort to bringing a life to a molecule which is a 30 years old. 30 years old, that I am referring to the ceftriaxone. I mean, probably most of you might be wondering what is so great to talk about this molecule. Otherwise, you would have seen several symposiums, programs for a new molecule. But essentially, that this program is very specific, very tailored to talk about the fact is that what are those effectiveness roles and the benefits of ceftriaxone, that too in critically ill patients and especially in the hospital setup. So essentially we'll be talking about the standard dose of 2 gram which has been recommended in ICU, and I'm sure once Dr. Meenakshi takes the stage, she would definitely share her own experience and wisdom as well with the elite group of almost 20 odd sitting out here, and almost now 180 doctors, those are connected digitally. Now as regards to other part, that I'll just quickly take you to a brief talk about the Alkem, as we have already seen the video, but nonetheless, I would quickly talk about Alkem. As my colleague has already spoke about that 50 years, that I am very happy and glad to share with you that Alkem is actually celebrating the 50 years of presence in Indian pharmaceutical market. And the entire country is celebrating 75 years, that what we called as what we called is actually Amrut Mahotsav. Similarly, we are also celebrating 50 years. And then what we have been living day in and day out, that extending life care beyond the boundaries. Now, as my colleague has already talked about that, we have got various facilities, 49 years of presence, top 10, we are actually number 5 pharmaceutical company, 40 odd countries presence is there, number 1 in anti-infective, 800 odd brands are there, out of that 11 brands are actually standing in top 300 brands of Indian pharmaceutical market, and 123 new molecules, 500 odd scientists and 16,500 people. Those are situated across the nook and corner of the country. So the biggest strength of Alkem, barring the research and development, is the reach. And on this auspicious occasion of Alkem completing 50 years, I sincerely extend my gratitude to all the medical fraternity sitting out here as well as digitally for your continuous patronage and the support what for years together which you have been giving to the Alkem. And we sincerely look forward for similar support in times to come as well. So leadership, yes, we have got leadership. We are the values, 9 strict values what we have been following. And essentially that Corona has really helped us to actually double our overall volumes. And there are several accolades and accomplishment what Alkem has actually achieved, and then most importantly the therapies that we have got a therapy presence in various therapies, and then the brands which is very close, that is Clavum, Taximo, Taxim, Zone. They're all known brands to all of you. Pandy, Ondem, okay, Sumo, Enzoflam, A to Z Gold, right? These are all the top mega brands. Yes, we have got OTC presence as well. Then, wide sales and distribution across the country, not only in the country, but, even globe as well. We have got manufacturing capabilities, we have got R&D as well, and key markets, not only in India, we have got presence in 40 odd countries. Recently, we are starting our operation in Bangladesh as well, barring Nepal. So rapid international expansion, that is what we believe in, and our accolades. As I said, that Alkem has been awarded as a great place to work, okay, by the prestigious institute. And then moving on to a very important thing which really make us stand proud and really make us energized and motivated. That is a slogan what our late chairman Shri Sampada Singh has given, and which we live day in and day out, that only determined mind can find out the ways to succeed. This is such a powerful sentence, and which really make us to really drive, and which really make us to run from pillar to post in the country. With this, I am completing my short talk about the corporate. Then I would hand over the session to Dr. Meenakshi Jain. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. Would request you to take the stage now. Thank you. Yeah, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's indeed a moment of pleasure and gratitude to all of you for being here on a Sunday evening. And I would rather wish my sincere thanks to Alkem for giving me an opportunity to speak on a topic which is so dear to my heart. I have been speaking a lot on topics like diabetes and all, but I've been treating more of ICU patient, more of admitted patients. And ceftriaxone is one molecule which over my practice of last 25 years have generated a huge confidence not only in me, but all over the hospital fraternity. So ceftriaxone is probably one molecule I can say with pride and confidence that it would be able to cure by most of the patients who are admitted in the hospital. So with this, I would express my thanks to Ram for my introduction, such nice word of introduction. And I would like to thank once again the Alkem Laboratories for giving me an opportunity. So today I'll be talking about something which all of us know. I think during, okay. Okay. So I'll be talking about a molecule which all of us have used, and the molecule I think is as old as 25 years old molecule, but still it generates lot of confidence in us and is able to cure most of the patient. In my practice, my juniors, I tell them, if you get a patient of sepsis, you get a patient of meningitis, you get a patient of UTI, you get a patient of pyelonephritis, you get a patient of pneumonia. So till you get culture report, what antibiotics will you start before I see the patient? So it is ceftriaxone. So that much confidence ceftriaxone has generated, that be it typhoid fever, UTI, pyelonephritis, meningitis, any infection, anywhere, abdominal infection, ceftriaxone will be able to save my patient. And that much is the confidence which has been generated in ceftriaxone. As we all know that antimicrobial resistance has been rising all over the world, and AMR is another pandemic which is going on. We are over with COVID pandemic and its threat probably, but another pandemic which is going to emerge over next few years is antimicrobial resistance. Most of the bacteria are becoming resistant to the standard use of drug, and we need to be very cautious with what we prescribed, in how much dosage we prescribe, and for how long do we prescribe. So very important, which I'm going to talk about today, is that if we are prescribing the antibiotic, we should know what is the right antibiotic for that particular infection. Secondly, what dosage we are going to prescribe, whether it is the right dosage or not, because inadequate doses and inadequate duration of antibiotic is the major culprit for antimicrobial resistance. So we have to be careful that we give the antibiotic in the right dosage, in the right indication, for the right patient, and for the right duration of time. So today I'm going to revisit ceftriaxone, its optimal outcome in ICU. We all know the magnitude of the problem. The ICU infections are the important cause of mortality and morbidity. The global scenario of ICU infection is different from Indian ICU. Indian ICU, where we are different, is that we get more of gram-negative infection than gram-positive infection, which we see elsewhere the world. So gram-negative infections are becoming a lot of challenge for Indian patients. Secondly, increasing incidence of MDR gram-negative organisms in ICU is a threat. We've been seeing at Max Hospital that in ICU, many of the bugs are becoming super bugs. They are resistant to the usual antibiotics, and the gram-negative infection like carbapenem-resistant enterococcus, like the E. coli and the Klebsiella, which are becoming resistant to most of the antibiotics, Acinetobacter pneumoniae, which is coming as a threat to ICU patient, the Enterobacteriaceae family, which is showing lot of resistance to organism. So these are becoming major threat for our ICU patients. So WHO priority list of antibiotic resistant bacteria is released, and we know what are the critical, this thing, the pointer is not working. It's not working, I think. So priority 1, or the critical bacteria are Acinetobacter pneumoniae, which is carbapenem resistance, the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which is carbapenem resistance, Enterobacteriaceae family, which is again carbapenem resistant, third generation cephalosporin resistant. Then there is a high priority category, which is Enterococcus faecium, which is becoming vancomycin resistant, Staphylococcus aureus, which is methicillin resistant, vancomycin and intermediate and resistant, H. pylori Campylobacter, which is fluoroquinolone resistant, Salmonella, which is almost shown fluoroquinolone resistance, and it is in the high priority list by WHO. Then Neisseria gonorrhea, which is third generation cephalosporin resistant, and fluoroquinolone resistant. These were the priority 2 or high priority organism. Then medium priority are strep pneumonia, which is penicillin non-susceptible, H. influenza, and Shigella. Even Mycobacterium tuberculosis is becoming very challenging because the XDR and MDR resistance is well known. But today we are not going to talk about Mycobacterium. We are going to talk about the gram-negative infections, which are Enterobacteriaceae, which include Klebsiella, E. coli, Enterobacter, Serratia species, Proteus, Providentia, and Morganella species. Intensive care unit bugs in India, how do they differ from Western world? Briefly, the Western world is more centric towards gram-positive organism, which are Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Enterococcus, But we in India, we are more worried about the gram-negative isolate. So these are the figures which are there. The all ICU, if we see the positive isolate in the Western world is 2,728, but in Asian world it is 505, and in European study it was 706. Less of gram-negative, less of gram-negative and positive are almost equal in European countries. In Asian we have 168 gram-positive, but more of gram-negative, 378. It's almost double, 33.3% gram-positive and 74% gram-negative. And if we see the Western Europe, then 1345 means 49% gram-positive and gram-negative is 58%. So we Asians, and this figure is higher in India, we have more and more gram-negative isolate. So in Indian world or in Asian countries, the gram-negative isolates are becoming a real challenge. This is the Asian countries where we see a lot of gram-negative organism which are the part of ICU infections. This is approximately 75% of gram-negative organism. So if we see this slide also, all ICUs, then Western European ICUs and Indian or Asian ICU. So Staphylococcus or MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant staph, or staph epidermidis, Streptococcus pneumonia, Enterococcus, or other gram-positive, they are this number. And if we talk about gram-negative, then Asian gram-negative, the common is E. coli, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter, others, and anaerobes. So again, emphasizing that Asian patients, we deal with more of gram-negative infection than with gram-positive infection. These are the gram-negative bacteria which we commonly find in Asian patients, particularly in Indian patients. Around 75 to 80% organism are Enterobacteriaceae and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. This is another study on prevalence of microbiologic isolate in intensive care units from different areas of India. So these are the various studies by Ghanshani et al., Singh et al., Rawal et al., and Das Gupta et al., which tells us about the percentage of gram-positive, gram-negative isolates in different hospital setting in different parts of India. And it shows that gram-negative isolates are more common. This is the gram-negative isolate. So all three studies, North Indian studies, West India study and East India study, more of gram-negative isolate than the gram-positive isolate. Fungi are also there and gram-positive isolates are also there, but we are more worried about gram-negative isolate. If we classify the organism, then Staph aureus was in 51, epidermidis in 17, strep pneumonia and enterococcus. Gram-negative were highest, E. coli was highest, 114 across various studies, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas and Acinetobacter. So briefly to tell you that the challenging bugs in our countries are E. coli, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas and Acinetobacter. These are the challenging bacteria which pose a threat to us, which cause gram-negative sepsis in our ICU, and most of the infections are gram-negative infection in India. Now coming to the treatment of gram-negative infection. The gram-negative infection respond to antibiotic which are specific against gram-negative infection. If we talk about cephalosporin, then as we go from the grade of cephalosporin, which is the class of cephalosporin, then the class 1 of cephalosporin is not very effective against gram-negative. Then comes the class B or class 2 of cephalosporin, which has a better anti-gram-negative spectrum. Then the class 3 of the cephalosporin, which has good antimicrobial efficacy against gram-negative organism. So as we go down, as we go to a higher generation of cephalosporin or a third generation cephalosporin, their gram-negative activity increases. We all know what are the antibiotics in gram-negative or which are the antibiotics in class 3. Class 3 or third generation cephalosporins are, most important is ceftriaxone, which is a class 3 or third generation cephalosporin. Other cephalosporin which are in the class 3 are ceftazidime, it is cefixime, which are again class in the third generation cephalosporin. Then we have fourth generation cephalosporin also, which are cefepime. As we go down from first generation to third generation, fourth generation, the gram-negative activity keeps on increasing. So if at all you want to give a gram-negative organism a good cover of antibiotics, if you want to cover your E. coli, Klebsiella, then you must give a third generation cephalosporin. And third generation cephalosporin, one of the safest cephalosporin which can be used in ICU for most of the patient is ceftriaxone. So today we are going to talk about ceftriaxone. We have rich experience about ceftriaxone. So what is about ceftriaxone? It is a third generation cephalosporin. It is a bactericidal antibiotic. Good antibiotics are the ones which are working through bactericidal pathway. They are the one which inhibit cell wall synthesis. It belongs to a group of penicillin. Penicillins are the drug which inhibit cell wall synthesis. So cephalosporins are also group of drugs which penetrate into the cell wall and inhibit cell wall synthesis. So they actually lyse the bacteria. So bactericidal activity of ceftriaxone is very good. After 1 gram IV dosage concentration, it is available in a good concentration within 1 to 3 hours. Like in gallbladder bile, the concentration is 581 and 788 in the common bile duct, 898 microgram in the cystic bile duct, and 78.2 microgram per gram in the gallbladder wall. So it has a good concentration within 1 to 3 hours of administration of antibiotic. Pharmacokinetic data obtained after slow intravenous administration of 2 gram of ceftriaxone over 30 minutes showed a serum concentration of about 50 gram per ml after 12 hours and 20 gram per ml after 24 hours. So the good thing or the advantage of ceftriaxone usage is, number one, it excretes through both bile and kidney. So it is effective in both GI infection as well as in renal infection and UTI. Second important thing is it can penetrate the blood-brain barrier. So if one talks about the empirical therapy for meningitis, then ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. Still, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice for meningitis if we are not sure of organism. So even if meropenem is available or tazobactam is available or there are other very, very high-end antibiotics, the drug of choice for meningitis, the drug of choice for salmonella still continues to be third generation cephalosporin, ceftriaxone. Another advantageous things with ceftriaxone is it exhibits extensive protein binding, 83 to 96% at therapeutic concentration. So this is what I was talking about, the generation of cephalosporin. This we have done in our undergraduation. All of us know that first generation have more of gram positive coverage and the third and fourth generation have more of gram negative coverage. First generation are cefazolin, cephalexin, cefadroxil. Second generation are cefuroxime, cefaclor, cefuroxime acetyl and cefoxitin. Third generation is cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, ceftazidime, cefoperazone, cefixime, cefopotaxime. All these antibiotics we've been using, while cefotaxime is oral, cefopotaxime is oral, cefixime is oral, ceftriaxone, ceftazidime and cefoperazone are IV antibiotics. Fourth generation are cefepime and cefpirom, which have gram-negative coverage, and fifth generation is ceftaroline, which has similar to third generation coverage, plus it has MRSA coverage. So if we talk about gram-negative coverage, then third generation cephalosporin gives us more advantage against gram-negative infection. And mechanism we all know, they act by inhibiting the cell wall synthesis. So what are these gram-positive aerobes? We all know, I have talked about them. It is Staph aureus, Staphylococcus epidermidis, Strep pneumonia, Strep pyogenes, viridans group of Streptococcus, Streptococcus epilepticus. Gram-negative aerobes is what which make the havoc in Indian ICU. Gram-negative infections are the one which predominate in our setup. Gram-negative infection is the Salmonella infection. Gram-negative infection is what pneumonias we get in elderly, and gram-negative infections are the one which cause release of endotoxin. So we get high procalcitonin and high inflammatory mediator which cause sepsis and shock. So most common organism which cause sepsis and shock are the gram-negative organism. So it is these organisms which we need to target and hit it hard from the first day. We cannot do like that patient is sick and we start with a first generation cephalosporin, and when the culture report comes after 48 hours, we realize that the bacteria is resistant, and then we change to third generation or we change to the other antibiotic. So using the right antibiotic empirically is also of the utmost importance. So when we are suspecting E. coli, when we are suspecting H. influenza, Klebsiella pneumonia, Neisseria gonorrhea, which causes gonorrhea, Neisseria meningitis, Salmonella or typhoid, including Salmonella typhoid, paratyphi, Shigella species. Ceftriaxone is also active against many strains of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which is become mostly multiple drug resistant, but still many strains of Pseudomonas are sensitive to ceftriaxone. Anaerobes, we don't have much of anaerobic infection in ICUs, but anaerobic bugs are Bacteroides fragilis, Peptostreptococcus, and Clostridium species. Dosage, we are just going to talk about adult dosage mainly. Pediatric dose is 100 milligram per kg per day IV for 7 to 10 days. Adult dosage is 1 to 2 gram per day IV for 7 to 10 days. We mostly use 2 gram twice a day for our ICU patient, for our sick patient, for UTI pyelonephritis patient. The dose which has been recommended is 2 gram IV twice a day. Treatment guidelines for antimicrobial use in Coburn syndrome is standard dose for ceftriaxone is 2 gram once a day, and for GI and intra-abdominal infection it's 2 gram once a day. But most of the patients who have sepsis, who have pyelonephritis, who have meningitis, who have typhoid, the recommended dose is using it 2 gram twice a day. The reason for this is that we want a minimum inhibitory concentration of that particular drug to be present in the blood all the time. So if we give the right dose, the chances of resistance are less, and the resistance has been rising nowadays in our ICU. So using a correct dose which is able to kill the bacteria throughout the area under the curve during the treatment is the right thing to do to prevent resistance. So what are the indications of its use in adults? The indication for its use in adults is complicated intra-abdominal infection like cholecystitis, intra-abdominal sepsis, perforation, or any GI sepsis which is there, or even pyelonephritis. This is the drug of choice. Complicated UTI including pyelonephritis. If we need to admit the patient, we need to give the IV antibiotics, and third generation cephalosporin probably is the drug of choice. Hospital-acquired pneumonias are one of the important things which are emerging, particularly patients who are ventilator, they have ventilator-associated pneumonia with susceptible gram-negative organism. Then skin and skin structure infection, the third generation cephalosporin, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. Indication in adults for the treatment of uncomplicated gonorrhea. Gonorrhea also the drug of choice for any cervical, urethral or rectal gonorrhea is ceftriaxone. Bone and joint infections, meningitis as has been told by me earlier, and bacterial septicemia. Patients who present with pancytopenia in our hospital because of maybe chemotherapy or maybe drug-induced pancytopenia or maybe aplastic anemia. If we want to give an empirical antibiotic therapy, the ceftriaxone or third generation cephalosporin is the drug of choice. Patients in whom we are planning to do surgery, like patients who are undergoing cholecystectomy, patients who are undergoing cesarean section or any oncology surgery, the drug of choice which we give pre-surgery or prophylactic antibiotics is mostly third generation cephalosporin or ceftriaxone. So ceftriaxone works in all the field. The only place it does not work is where we are suspecting gram-positive infection, where we are suspecting MRSA or methicillin-resistant Staphylococcal aureus. But these infections are not so common in our ICU. They are seen generally in patients who have maybe artificial valve or artificial lines which are there, or patients who have a PICC line inserted or a central line inserted. In those patients, we do get staphylococcal infection. But generally, most of the patients, the sepsis originate from UTI, which is generally a gram-negative organism. And using ceftriaxone would be the best line of therapy for such patient. So it is used as first line of treatment of infections due to gram-negative rods, except for Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas has shown a lot of multiple drug resistance and even carbapenem resistant strain are emerging. So if we are suspecting Pseudomonas, then ceftriaxone probably will be no-no. But if it is E. coli, Klebsiella, Enterobacteriaceae, Acinetobacter, we could use ceftriaxone. It is second line of treatment for infections due to non-enterococcal streptococcal species, particularly in patient allergic to penicillin. And also generally nowadays we don't use penicillin, so in these patients we can use ceftriaxone for enterococcus and streptococcus species. And rare infections due to gram-positive anaerobic organisms such as Propionobacter macni and Peptostreptococcus, the drug is effective, so we could use them. Where we cannot use it, when we are suspecting a Staphylococcus aureus, we should not use it. When we are suspecting a Pseudomonas, we should not use it. Rest, all the places, you can use it without any doubt because most of the organisms are sensitive to ceftriaxone. The clinical pharmacology is that ceftriaxone is most commonly prescribed third generation parenteral cephalosporin, highly stable to beta-lactamases, penicillinases, particularly those produced by gram-negative bacteria. It has high potency against Enterobacteriaceae, H. influenza, Neisseria, and most of the gram-positive cocci. Good advantage, and this is the point I want to emphasize, is that half-life of ceftriaxone is very comfortable. It is between 5.8 to 8.7 hours. So prolonged serum half-life which permits once or twice a day dosage, unlike other parenteral cephalosporin. So if you give cephalosporin twice a day, particularly if you are giving 2 gram of ceftriaxone or zone twice a day, 2 gram BID dose, that is the best dose which will be able to kill more than 95% of gram-negative organism. So 2 gram twice a day is the recommended dose for Salmonella. 2 gram twice a day is recommended dose for our meningitis. 2 gram twice a day is recommended dose for endocarditis. And 2 gram twice a day is the recommended dose for pyelonephritis, intra-abdominal infection, and sepsis. And patients in whom pancytopenia is there and we want to give antibiotic as a prophylaxis, then 2 gram BID would be the right dose. In ICU patients, another challenging thing of using an inadequate dose or a subtherapeutic dose in ICU patient is that the ICU patients are generally low in albumin. They have hypoalbuminemia. So the concentration of ceftriaxone, if you are using it in a hypoalbuminic patient, because the hypoalbuminic patient, the drug is protein bound. Ceftriaxone is a protein bound drug. And if you are using it in a patient who has low albumin level, then the drug level may be subtherapeutic. So it is very important that we do not cause subtherapeutic level of the drug, because with the subtherapeutic level emerges the antibiotic resistance. And antibiotic resistance is a major challenging problem. So if you want to be correct, then when your patient is in ICU, when the patient is having hyperfiltration, like initial few hours of sepsis, patients have a high EGFR or hyperfiltration state. So in this state also, the drug excretion is more. So two type of patient where you have to use a higher drug or the right concentration of drug is when the albumin level is low, or secondly, when the patient is having hyperfiltration. Then the drug dosage needs to be right, because only if the drug level is right, then it would be able to be effective antimicrobial. So concentration may be subtherapeutic in ICU patient, particularly those with hypoalbuminemia. Its mixed clearance via both kidney 50-60% and bile is also 40 to 50%. So this gives an advantage that it can be used in patients who have acute kidney injury also and who have low GFR. So this is the drug which can be used for both hepatic and renal patient. So it is safe in our ICU patient because most of the ICU patients have either hepatic or a renal or a multi-organ failure. So in patients with multi-organ failure or patients who are CKD or having acute kidney injury, the drug can be used safely. The pharmacokinetic property of ceftriaxone show little change in patient with renal or hepatic failure, even when severe. In patients with renal failure, decrease in urine excretion is compensated by an increase in biliary excretion, or vice versa in patients with hepatic failure. So this gives an advantage because if there is hepatic failure, drug will get excreted through kidney. If there is a kidney failure, drug will get excreted through bile. So there will not be a drug toxicity. Then what is the pathophysiological effect that occur during sepsis and its effect on pharmacokinetic is, in sepsis we have leaky capillaries, so there is an increased volume of distribution. So this is also another thing which we as a clinician we should understand, that when the volume of distribution increases, you need to give a higher dose of drug so that the drug reaches all the part of the body. Since it's a highly protein bound drug, so when there is edema or when there is kidney injury or when there is sepsis, because volume of distribution increases, you must have a right concentration of the drug. That means 2 gram twice a day is the right concentration, or 4 gram once a day can also be given. So adequate concentration of the drug is very important to cause the lysis of bacterial cell wall. So leaky capillary, altered protein binding, augmented renal clearance, extracorporeal circuits or end organ dysfunction, they all cause low plasma concentration. So if you have all this, any of these, leaky capillary, altered protein binding, augmented renal clearance or extracorporeal circuits or end organ dysfunction, the concentration of the drug goes down and we need to have a higher MIC of the drug. And what happens if we do not supplement the right dosage? There is treatment failure or there is AMR or antimicrobial resistant develops. So patients of shock and sepsis, patients of acute kidney injury, patients who have low albumin concentration require a higher amount of drug. Change in pharmacokinetic parameters for antimicrobials according to their solubility. There are two types of antimicrobial. One is hydrophilic antibiotic and another is lipophilic antibiotic. Hydrophilic antibiotics are the ones which are not bound to the fat. Lipophilic are the ones which are bound to the fat. The ones which are hydrophilic have a smaller volume of distribution and it is predominantly renally cleared. It has low intracellular penetration, while the ones which are bound to fat have large volume of distribution, predominantly hepatic cleared and good intracellular penetration. Altered pharmacokinetics are seen if there is an increased volume of distribution, the pharmacokinetics get altered. If the creatinine clearance is increased or decreased, the pharmacokinetic get altered. And it also depends on the renal function and protein binding. In lipophilic antibiotics, which are more of fat-bound antibiotics, the volume of distribution is largely unchanged and clearance is increased or decreased depending on hepatic function and protein binding. So most of the lipophilic antibiotics, the volume of distribution does not matter, the one which are bound to the fat. But the one which were bound to the proteins, their volume of distribution gets affected with the kidney function with the protein content. So the one which are hydrophilic are beta-lactam is anti-aminoglycoside and glycopeptide like linezolid, etc. And fluoroquinolones, macrolide and rifampicin are lipophilic. So hydrophilic antibiotic or ceftriaxone has a change in clearance if there is leaky capillary. We all know that sepsis can lead to endothelial damage and increase capillary permeability. Capillary leak causes fluid shift from intravascular compartment to interstitial space, which leads to an increased volume of distribution of hydrophilic drug like ceftriaxone and decrease in plasma concentration. So patients who are in shock or have leaky capillaries, in those patients, right dose is very important. Particularly in critically ill patients who receive administration of IV fluids such as standard initial management protocol, and when we give vasopressor, then also the normal cardiac indices gets higher and we require a larger amount of drug. And in the absence of significant organ dysfunction, the creatinine clearance is augmented and we can get a creatinine clearance of more than 130 ml per minute, which is very high creatinine clearance. In such people also, there is increased elimination of hydrophilic drugs, so we require a higher amount of drug. So changes in protein binding, the PK of highly protein bound drug is markedly altered in sepsis and can result in higher unbound concentration that are subjected to greater clearance. So an albumin concentration which is equal to or less than 20 gram per liter decreases the probability of target attainment by up to 20% across the different dosing regimes and stimulated creatinine clearance. So those people who have low albumin and those people who have high creatinine clearance require a higher concentration of the drug in the blood. If we give a once daily dosage of ceftriaxone in critically ill patient, the total plasma concentration of the drug is gets lower. So in a critically ill patient, the ones which are with the clear dots are critically ill patient with renal failure in whom the free fraction goes high, and these are critically ill patient with a normal GFR or normal function. In those patients, the concentration or the free concentration of the drug is lower. So patients with a higher renal higher filtration rate or patients with a normal renal function, they require a higher dose of ceftriaxone. So if the renal clearance is high, or if the patient is in sepsis, or patient is in fluid overload stage, or patient has low albumin, requires a 2 gram per day dose of 2 gram twice a day dose of ceftriaxone. So the slide is to emphasize that if there is renal failure, then you could reduce the dose of ceftriaxone. Like if patient is having high creatinine level or patient is having low GFR, the creatinine is high. In those patients, the ceftriaxone dose can be 1 gram BID. But for the standard patient or for the rest of the patient, or the universal dose of ceftriaxone is 2 gram twice a day. If we use a 1 gram twice a day dose, it is likely to be therapeutic in patients who have less than 100 ml creatinine clearance, but with only susceptible isolate. But if the patients are critically ill with normal renal function, then we require a higher augmented dose of ceftriaxone, which is 2 gram twice a day. Patients with renal failure, decreased urinary excretion is compensated by increase in bile excretion. So it is not contraindicated in renal patient. So ceftriaxone is an antibiotic which can be easily used for patients who have CKD. And dosage are almost similar because the drug which is not excreted through kidney gets excreted through bile. So, and same way if the patient has hepatic failure, you could use the similar dose because if the drug is not excreted through bile, it will get excreted through kidney. The loading dose in septic patient, there is a larger than predicted volume of distribution of hydrophilic antibacterials, and therefore they require a larger loading dose. So loading dose is 2 gram for ceftriaxone, and patients who have reduced bacterial susceptibility infected with a higher MIC isolates of more than 0.25 milligram per liter of MIC require at least 3 to 4 gram of dosage. Augmented renal clearance and hypoalbuminemia, they require a larger dose. So the dose recommended is 2 gram BID. This is a paper which was published in US, and this is comparison of clinical outcomes among intensive care unit in patients receiving 1 or 2 gram of ceftriaxone. So it was found out that patients who received less than 2 gram of ceftriaxone versus those who received more than 2 grams of ceftriaxone, the drug was people who used patients who had more than 2 gram of dosage, the treatment failure chances were less. In UTI, if we are using 1 gram dosage, the treatment failure is 33%. But if we are using right dosage, which is 2 gram dosage, the treatment failure chances are less. Then treatment failure in patient with SOFA score of more than 10. SOFA score, we all know it is the organ dysfunction septic score which we use in ICU patient. Patients who have high SOFA score, their chances of mortality are higher compared to patients who have low SOFA score. So SOFA score which were high patients, in those who are with sepsis and all, the higher SOFA score, if we use a lower ceftriaxone concentration, the chances of treatment failure were higher, 64.3%. If we are using the right dosage, if we are using more than 2 gram dosage, the chances of failure in people who were admitted with sepsis with multi-organ dysfunction were very less. They were only 22.2%. So even in sepsis, the usage has to be the right dose in right patient. Again, in sepsis, there is hardly any role of 1 gram BID. Patients who are admitted with sepsis must get 2 gram BID dosage unless their renal function are actually very low. If the creatinine is very high, or if the patient is having AKI, you could reduce the dose. But otherwise, standard dose is 2 gram BID. Another important thing which we often forget when we are treating our patient is taking care of their albumin. Most of our critically ill patients are low in albumin, and hypoalbuminemia is a major marker of treatment failure. So patients in the sepsis guideline score also, they say if you correct albumin, the chances of recovery are higher compared to those patients who in sepsis have low albumin. So patients who have low albumin must be given the right dosage, and patients who have been given right dosage of more than 2 gram, they had lesser chances of treatment failure compared to when we give a smaller dose of ceftriaxone. So the result of this study showed that there was no cases of antibiotic escalation among those who were treated with 2 gram daily. 10 patients who received 1 gram daily required antibiotic escalation, 8 for pneumonia and 2 for UTI. There were no difference in the adverse effect of both the group, and median therapy of ceftriaxone was 1 day longer in 2 gram group compared to 5 days longer in 1 gram group. So if you use a lesser dose, you require a longer duration of treatment compared to when we use the right dose of treatment. Then there is this study on ICU patient, which is again taking into consideration the SOFA score. The ICU patient who were receiving ceftriaxone 1 gram experienced high rates of treatment failure than who were receiving 2 gram. So primarily due to escalation from ceftriaxone to a higher level of antibiotic. If we are not using the adequate dose from very beginning, patient will not respond and we need to escalate the antibiotic. But if you are using the right dose, patient will respond well, and the dose escalation is not needed, or the antibiotic escalation is not needed. This is comparison of ertapenem and ceftriaxone therapy in acute pyelonephritis in other complicated UTI in Korean adults. So adult patient with acute pyelonephritis and complicated UTI were seen, and they were divided into two groups. One was ertapenem, which is a carbapenem group of antibiotic, another was ceftriaxone 2 gram OT. The primary endpoint was clinical cure, failure, or favorable microbiological response, and it was found out that ceftriaxone is effective and safe for the treatment of acute pyelonephritis and complicated UTI in comparison to ertapenem. So why go for a high-end antibiotic ertapenem when a third generation cephalosporin can achieve us the same result, rather a better result? So 2 gram ceftriaxone twice a day achieved similar response which was achieved by ertapenem 1 gram once a day. This is another study in which ceftriaxone plus metronidazole was combined, and it was found that better results were obtained in comparison to moxifloxacin. So this was a study which showed that ceftriaxone plus metronidazole in community origin complicated intra-abdominal infection, moxifloxacin was non-inferior to ceftriaxone plus metronidazole. That means this combination of ceftriaxone metronidazole was as effective as moxifloxacin. Efficacy and safety, ceftriaxone and metronidazole were as efficacious or maybe more efficacious than moxifloxacin alone. Bacteriological cure was also higher, and overall adverse effect was lower. So for intra-abdominal infection, a combination of ceftriaxone with metronidazole is quite effective. So conclusion of this study was that the infections encountered in this study, ceftriaxone metronidazole combination was more effective broad spectrum antimicrobial agent against gram-positive, gram-negative and anaerobic bacteria compared to moxifloxacin. This is another randomized controlled trial, which is a two-phase, 3 randomized double-blind trial which enrolled adult patient with community-acquired pneumonia, and it had shown that adult patient with community-acquired pneumonia were divided into 2 groups, ceftriaxone plus metronidazole / daptomycin, and primary endpoint were clinical cure rate, bacteriological success rate. And it was found out that ceftriaxone was better compared to daptomycin, and ceftriaxone was superior in terms of adverse effect. So this was seen that daptomycin probably was not effective. Ceftriaxone could achieve clinical cure in 88% patient, while daptomycin achieved it 80% of patient. Ceftriaxone adverse effect were very less compared to daptomycin. So conclusion of study was daptomycin is not effective for treatment of community-acquired pneumonia, while ceftriaxone did have a good effect in clearance of community-acquired pneumonia bacteria. There are a lot of multicentric trials on cephalosporin, third generation cephalosporin ceftriaxone. This is again open label randomized double-blind controlled trial which compared ceftriaxone plus metronidazole with tigecycline. So one group was randomized into ceftriaxone plus metronidazole. Another group received tigecycline, which is another prescribed antibiotic for intra-abdominal infection. And it was seen that ceftriaxone plus metronidazole achieved a better cure rate compared to tigecycline alone, better microbiological eradication. So conclusion was ceftriaxone monotherapy is non-inferior to combination regime of ceftriaxone metronidazole with respect to treating patients with intra-abdominal infection. So ceftriaxone alone or ceftriaxone with metronidazole is quite an effective therapy for intra-abdominal infection. Ceftriaxone is among the most commonly utilized antibiotics owing to its high potency and wide spectrum of activity and low level of toxicity. Successful PK/PD target of attainment was defined as unbound trough concentration above 1 or 4 milligram per liter throughout the whole dosing interval. Unbound ceftriaxone predominantly excreted by kidney. Subsequently, attainment of PK/PD target may be compromised in patients with augmented renal clearance, and there is a risk of therapeutic failure. Increase the dose of ceftriaxone to achieve a concentration minimum oblique MIC of more than 1. So even minimum concentration should be higher than the minimum inhibitory concentration. This is a very good terminology, because when there is a minimum level of drug, if the minimum level of the drug is below the minimal inhibitory concentration of that particular drug, the drug resistance emerges. So when the concentration of drug goes down, it should never go down the MIC of that particular drug. So the Cmin oblique MIC should always be more than 1. And this can be achieved only if we give right dosage. Suppose we give 1 gram dosage of the drug. So 1 gram dosage of the drug after end of 8-9 hours, the C minimum or the minimal concentration of drug will go down the therapeutic level, while the MIC will be higher. So Cmin oblique MIC of more than 1 can be achieved only if we are using the right concentration of the drug in ICU, which is 2 gram twice a day dosage of drug. Patients with area of the curve or those infected with higher MIC isolate more than 0.25 milligram per liter require 3 to 4 gram dosage per day, either in divided dosage or as continuous infusion to achieve a Cmin oblique minimal inhibitory concentration of more than 1. So this is that if you are using this drug as twice a day regime, 2 gram twice a day, or using a continuous infusion over 24 hours, you should be able to achieve a minimal concentration which is above the MIC. If any of us are from the ICU, we will realize that the MIC of any particular drug is given in the sensitivity pattern. So if MIC is, suppose MIC is 0.25, then our minimal concentration of the drug should always remain above 0.25 so that we are able to kill the bacteria. So attainment of ceftriaxone PK/PD target has been associated with a shorter length of ICU stay, higher rates of clinical cure, microbiological eradication, and suppression of resistance. Timely prediction of ARC in combination of forecasting of unbound ceftriaxone exposure has potential to improve target attainment in critically ill patient. So optimization of ceftriaxone dose in era of antimicrobial stewardship has been suggested to make less resistant pathogens. So thank you all for your patient listening. And in the end, I would just like to emphasize the indications of this particular drug. Any patient in whom we suspect a gram-negative infection, which could be typhoid, salmonella, pneumonia, elderly patient or any other patient, intra-abdominal infection, meningitis, endocarditis, gonorrhea, syphilis, leptospirosis, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. If you are not sure what you are dealing with, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. If you do not want to use a very high-end antibiotic in ICU and the drug susceptibility pattern is known, if it's a community-acquired infection coming to the hospital for the first time, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. Any pancytopenic patient who has been on chemotherapy, drug therapy, or hematological malignancy, if there is a low TLC, you have to fight infection, gram-negative, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. So ceftriaxone is the drug which you can use without fail, but one precaution, use it in the right dosage. The minimal concentration of the drug should always be above the minimal inhibitory concentration, which is demonstrated in your antibiogram. So for that, you should use 2 gram twice a day of drug for adequate dosage. And if you are using it for adequate dosage, the duration of treatment will be shorter, the drug resistance will be less, patient will cure faster, and we will prevent AMR in our ICU, and we will not upgrade the antibiotics. Always send cultures before you start an antibiotics, the dictum of treating any infection. Always send a paired blood culture if you are sending, and always note down the MIC of the drug, and always have the antibiogram of your hospital which you can follow. So this is all I have to say for today evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, for taking everyone through to the ceftriaxone zone. In fact, after 30 years and seeing the potential of a drug, I can say only one thing, that old is gold. And ceftriaxone zone is really a wonderful molecule as of now also. And the session is open for question and answer. I request any questions.
See, it's an old wine in a new bottle. It gets tastier and more effective year by year.
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
So the rationale of combining metronidazole with this ceftriaxone commonly acquired pneumonia?
So, very good question. The metronidazole has activity against anaerobic bacteria. When we talk about the antibacterial spectrum of ceftriaxone, it is most effective against gram-negative bacteria. Amongst the gram-positive bacteria, it is not effective against many of gram-positive bacteria. Also, it is not effective against many of the anaerobic bacteria. So, if we are treating a GI sepsis, or if we are suspecting anaerobic infection, then for a better cover of anaerobic bacteria, we must combine it with metronidazole.
I can think of its rationale when we are treating with aspiration pneumonia, but not in community covered.
If it is a GI sepsis, if it is perforation, bowel perforation, or if it is a cholecystitis.
I'm talking about pneumonia only.
Pneumonia.
So
pneumonia.
CAP, I don't think it has a role.
CAP, it does not have any role.
Maybe aspiration pneumonia, it has got a role, metronidazole.
Very rightly said. In pneumonia, ceftriaxone alone is sufficient, and if we are suspecting atypical bacteria, then you should combine it with the macrolide like azithromycin or clarithromycin or levofloxacin. But if it is a gram-negative community-acquired pneumonia in a known COPD patient, then ceftriaxone alone in 2 gram BID dose is sufficient.
Ceftriaxone EDTA combination versus ceftriaxone metronidazole. How do you rate both of these?
See, very apt question, because ceftriaxone EDTA is basically for multiple drug-resistant bacteria. Ceftriaxone EDTA is not an empirical antibiotic. We should not give it in a community-acquired infection. A community-acquired pneumonia, a community-acquired sepsis, community-acquired typhoid, community-acquired meningitis, there is no need for giving ceftriaxone EDTA. Ceftriaxone EDTA is an antibiotic which is reserved for a multiple drug-resistant organism, like it is reserved for Klebsiella pneumonia, which is CRE, carbapenem-resistant enterococcus, or carbapenem-resistant E. coli or Klebsiella, or if it is Pseudomonas, which is not sensitive to cephalosporin and even carbapenem. So those are the patients who should be given ceftriaxone EDTA combination. Ceftriaxone EDTA is a reserved drug. We should not use it. It is a reserved drug only if the culture sensitivity shows that the other drugs are not effective. You should use ceftriaxone EDTA. Otherwise, no empirical use of ceftriaxone EDTA.
Most of the labs, they are not doing it.
This
activity, they are not doing it.
Because most of the labs, the drug sensitivity disk is not available. So most of the labs are not testing it, but because the drug sensitivity disk is not available. But if you ask them, the pharmaceutical people, they provide with the sensitivity testing, and in Max we are doing it against ceftriaxone EDTA combination. But for rest of the patient, for empirical therapy, for first line therapy, it is the 3rd generation cephalosporin, and not carbapenems and not ceftriaxone EDTA combination. These are reserved drugs, and because we are incessantly using these drugs and we are using it in our ICU as a first line of therapy, so there is emerging an AMR which is causing lot of havocs in ICU, and mortality is also rising because of bugs which are not responding to any antibiotic, multiple drug resistant or non-responsive Klebsiella. We are seeing lot of CREs, lot of Klebsiella, lot of E. coli which are pan-drug resistance. Reason being irrational use of antibiotics. So always send blood cultures, always send pair blood culture, always give the right antibiotic in the right duration above the MIC, above the minimum inhibitory concentration of the drug, and if possible try to monitor the drug level to find out whether the concentration of the drug is right in the blood or not. So that's very important.
Most of the patients reaching in the tertiary care hospital ICU, they are invariably have gone through the number of hospitals and found to be multi-drug resistant.
Very right. So that's why mortality is very high. So rational use of antibiotic is very important. So what happens is even in the clinical practice, people use ceftriaxone without doing any cultures, and they use inadequate dose of ceftriaxone. Even if the patient is hypoalbuminemic, they are using 1 gram a day or maybe 1 gram twice a day. Inadequate dosage for a shorter duration which is not effective. So that causes the drug resistance. So it is very important that irrational use of antibiotic is prevented, and we always do cultures and we give the right antibiotic for the right patient. And you should always have some calculation in the mind that this patient could be having this infection, so we are using this antibiotic. So if we are seeing that this patient could be having pyelonephritis, it is UTI, patient has been having prostate enlargement, patient has been having recurrent UTI, the chances of a drug resistant bug is quite likely. So in that case, we should try and use a higher end of antibiotic. But if we are, suppose we are seeing a community acquired pneumonia in a younger person, then there is no need to go for a high end antibiotic. You could start with right antibiotic for that particular person. And if we are suspecting typhoid or anything, send the blood culture. There is no need to use ceftriaxone on OPD basis. You could manage the patient with cefixime on OPD basis and send the cultures, use the right duration. So that's very important to prevent antimicrobial resistance. AMR or antimicrobial stewardship is a very important thing, and we must go into AMR deeply, that we do not use the drugs irrationally, and we do not use the drugs carbapenems and other higher end aminoglycosides or other higher end antibiotics on OPD basis. So OPD basis of drugs, particularly intravenous antibiotics, particularly ceftriaxone, must be avoided. So we should use most of these drugs in IPD setting only. Ceftriaxone is very safe for all the age group. It is one of the preferred antibiotic for children. Even in neonatal meningitis, ceftriaxone is the drug of choice. So you could use it in the neonate, you could use it in children, you could use it in elderly, you could use in CKD patient, you could use it in hepatic failure patient. So ceftriaxone is probably the safest to use drug. Neonatal meningitis, it is the drug of choice. In children meningitis, it is the drug of choice. In neonates with gram-negative sepsis, ceftriaxone can be used. So any patient walking into the hospital where we want to cover up with for gram-negative infection, probably third generation cephalosporin are the drug of choice initially, because first and second generation cephalosporin won't work. From very beginning, we would not like to give him carbapenems. So if you want to cover up a gram-negative organism like E. coli, Klebsiella, and we are thinking that patient could be having either salmonella, or patient could be having meningitis, or patient could be having UTI, probably ceftriaxone is safe to use. And ceftriaxone EDTA is a reserved drug. It's a reserved drug. Unless until your patient is not responding to anything else, you should not use ceftriaxone EDTA combination. Hypersensitivity can be seen with any drug, same way ceftriaxone hypersensitivity is known. There has always been a question whenever I go to the conference, people ask me, if there is a penicillin allergy, can we use ceftriaxone? Yes, if there is a penicillin allergy, you could try ceftriaxone. Although this belongs to almost the same group of antibiotic, but chances of cross sensitivities are not so high. So even if the patient says, I am allergic to penicillin, you could use ceftriaxone with, you can try, but with caution. Secondly, another thing which I want to say is that infusion forms are generally better for antibiotic than a direct IV injection. Thirdly, there is no use of doing a sensitivity testing when you are using the drugs. So there is no need for doing a sensitivity test or an intradermal injection of ceftriaxone or any other antibiotic if you are using it in the hospital. The recommended way to use any antibiotic is not to give them direct IV, but give them in an infusion form of 100 ml saline. And initial drug you use slow, and then the later drug you could use over 1 hour's time. But the direct injection of any drug must be avoided. Hypersensitivity is known, but it is very, very less. And there are no major side effects which are seen with ceftriaxone. All the drugs can cause leukopenia, thrombocytopenia, but cephalosporin are relatively safer. Another information which I had skipped is that it is category B drug for pregnancy. So category B drugs are relatively very, very safe drug for pregnancy. None of the drug except for insulin is category A. So category A drug is like you can use anytime, like insulin, which is very safe drug. Category B drugs in pregnant patient are those drugs which have not been shown to do any harm in the animal studies, although great human studies have not been done. So ceftriaxone is a category B drug. So ceftriaxone can be easily used in pregnancy. So pregnancy also, if you are not sure what to give, patient comes with febrile illness, your patient is admitted, give ceftriaxone. If patient is not admitted, give cefixime. It is safe, they have good spectrum of coverage, they have gram-positive coverage also. So even if the patient has LRTI, URTI symptoms or UTI symptoms, ceftriaxone is very, very safe. And if orally you want to give cefixime, which is a third generation cephalosporin, very safe in pregnancy. So safe drug.
Why do you say that intradermal sensitivity is not required or should not be done?
So nowadays the latest recommendations by Antimicrobial Society is that even after doing intradermal sensitivity, one could still have allergic reaction. So it is not recommended. And intradermal reaction, sometimes people could have intradermal reaction, but when you give it them as an IV infusion, they do not react to it. So but it does not give us any advantage, and intradermal injections are very painful and very scary to this thing. So we do not do intradermal antimicrobial testing. So except for penicillin, nowadays we hardly do any sensitivity test. Even for iron, we give the initial infusion as a low dose infusion rather than giving intradermal. I have seen patients who are coming with such a big patch of iron injection. They say, doctor, what have you done to my arm? I said, okay, sister must have given sensitivity, but they do not require sensitivity. You can give initial infusion as a small infusion, slow infusion. See, if it's a lower UTI, which is non-complicated, 1 gram BID would be sufficient. But if it's a complicated UTI, then 2 gram BID is recommended. There are two reasons to it. One is that volume of distribution of drug increases. When it is a pregnant state, there is a fluid expansion. So the VD of the drug increases. And if the VD of the drug increases, you require a higher concentration of the drug. So very important that in pregnancy you give the right concentration. So 2 gram BID for a complicated UTI or pyelonephritis, or if it is a severe vaginitis or a gynecological infection.
Ma'am, with regards to a very important point that you made right now, that this has to be given preferably as an infusion, because this is an antibiotic which has time-dependent killing actions. So the longer the CMIC is above the MIC, the better it is for the patient. So ideally, if we can divide the dosage into twice daily, that is better. And the other side is antibiotics like aminoglycosides. They are concentration-dependent killing. So they have to be given as boluses, because it is important that the MIC is multiplied. We achieve a multiple of the MIC. That is more important. So whenever we giving ceftriaxone, infusions are always better rather than giving an IV bolus dose.
That's very right. This is a aspect which we must know, that PK/PD of any drug is dependent on what kind of antibiotic you are using. Okay, so if you are using antibiotic like penicillin, ceftriaxone, or the drugs which are which causes cell wall inhibition, so those are the drugs in which we don't want the MIC to go down. So if we give these drugs as infusion, they work better. They require a long area under the curve. But if we are using aminoglycoside, we require a higher peak concentration to achieve. So drugs like aminoglycoside, tetracycline, quinolones, those are the drugs in which we would like a bolus to be given. They have a sudden peaking effect. But drugs like tazobactam, cephalosporin, these are the drugs in which we want a area under the curve which has to be larger. So if we have a larger area under the curve, longer area under the curve, the drug chances of the drug killing the bacteria are higher. So these are two different kind of drug which work on different PK/PD profile. So every antibiotic has a different PK/PD profile.
In such cases, loading dose is also important.
Loading dose is also very important, particularly in ceftriaxone. It's very important to load the patient. So whenever a patient comes, good loading dose is recommended. So for ceftriaxone, it is 2 gram, so that we achieve a good concentration of the drug. So loading dose concept is very, very important, particularly in septic patient or patient with multi-organ dysfunction, that we give adequate and proper loading dosage so that the PK/PD of that particular drug is achieved and the bacterial killing potential is good in that particular time. So a loading dose concept is very important for all the cephalosporin, for piperacillin tazobactam combination, for carbapenem kind of antibiotic. But loading dose is not required for aminoglycoside, quinolones, tetracycline, etc. group of drugs. Generally, carbapenems are preferred because colistin is a weaker antibiotic. So you have to have a synergy between the antibiotics. So the preferred antibiotic, because most of the bugs which are generally sensitive only to colistin, they are multiple drug resistant. So either they are Acinetobacter pneumoniae or Klebsiella, which is carbapenem resistant, or Enterobacteriaceae, which is carbapenem resistant. So most of these bugs, if we give colistin or polymyxin along with a gram-negative synergistic antibiotic, then only these medicine work. So giving ceftriaxone is a good combination for gram-negative. We also give cefoperazone, and also we continue carbapenems in such patients. So any of these drugs can be combined for a synergistic action, but colistin, polymyxin generally alone we should avoid giving. See, most of the bugs which are there, they have developed resistance to the antibiotic. So by giving sulbactam, or like we give clavulanic acid for amoxicillin, it inhibits that particular plasmid which is carrying the bacterial resistance gene. So most of the antibiotic which are alone, like amoxicillin without clavulanic acid, will not be effective. Same way piperacillin without clavulanic acid may not, without tazobactam may not be effective. Same way, we are combining sulbactam with meropenem to enhance its effect. So they basically widen the spectrum of that particular antibiotic, because most of the antibiotic, the bacteria have developed resistance to them. Like we have penicillinase or other bacterial genes which have been acquired gradually because of antimicrobial resistance. So if we add these, the synergistic effect get enhanced and the spectrum gets widened. So for ICU patient or patients in whom there are chances that it would be multiple drug resistant organism, we do combine sulbactam or some other salt to it. Ceftriaxone EDTA is also the same lines.
Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi. I think majority of our questions were answered. Madam, we won't believe it's a flood of questions online also, because many of our doctors, they are associated with this webinar online, and flood of questions, and I believe and all the questions were answered, because the way you have taken the session and the queries, everything is answered. Madam, what you mentioned, that a right dose and antimicrobial resistance, and we at Alkem, we thought that yes, it should be backed by some of our data, and keeping in view the same, and we have carried out one of CISA study, that is a beautiful study, madam, that is in vitro susceptibility of ceftriaxone in community acquired and nosocomial infections against gram-negative and gram-positive infections. And madam, this particular study is carried out in 3 of our major hospitals, major institutes in India. That is, one is SGPGI Lucknow, that is Department of Microbiology, as well as Department of Microbiology KEM and Department of Microbiology ICH Kolkata. And this is a wonderful study that reveals that involving around 180 samples in IPD and OPD patients, that is consist of blood, urine, respiratory samples, as well as tissues, pus, and cerebral fluid also, as you mentioned, that blood-brain barrier part, and ascitic fluid. But the most important thing, the performed via E-strip, which is in-house manufactured by Alkem. And this, after this, madam, the 2 gram, what you have talked about, the right dose, that has come up without non-CNS patients, and 2 gram really works very well in nosocomial infections, the way you have talked about. So this is one of a study only we have conducted recently in these 3 hospitals, and definitely is going to be very, very helpful to all the medical fraternity. And as Dr. Meenakshi has mentioned, that ceftriaxone is a drug of choice, the first line empirical therapy. And this study, definitely our team will take you clinic by clinic, all this study, and will definitely circulate, which is also kept on the table. Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, once again from the bottom of the heart, for taking us and revisiting the ceftriaxone. And I believe that though the salt is 30 years old, but everybody would love to listen Dr. Meenakshi, the way she had carried out right from the classification of antibiotics, cephalosporins, and each and everything, when per kg body weight dose she has also covered, and meningitis also, the day-to-day infections. Thank you once again, Dr. Meenakshi. Let us give a big round of applause once again to Dr. Meenakshi. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you all the audience for taking out your time on a Sunday evening, and you came to listen to me and ceftriaxone, all old things. But thank you once more, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank Alkem once more for organizing this session and giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge and my experience with everyone.
Yeah, we are
really thankful to you, madam.
In fact, since last 90 minutes you have been talking on the molecule, which is 30 years old, so that clearly talks about the power and the life what the molecule has. And this CISA 2023 study has once again proved the fact is that what is actually old is gold, and and the old wine in new bottle. So zone, first shot, sure shot antibiotics. With this, we'll break the group for the dinner. I would request everyone please join for the dinner. Thank you so much, Dr. Meenakshi, and thank you so much for the August audience, which is here spending the Sunday time with us and Sunday evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. At a global level, today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, We have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number 1 in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health, and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number one in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health, and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare, we need to be responsive and adaptive to changing needs of the society, providing the right drugs for the most effective treatment. We have witnessed changing lifestyles, changes in food supply chain, and overall changes in the environment, all of which are reflected in the society's health and in our products. The idea of Alkem was born in 1973, a time when infections were the biggest threat to humanity. We brought several prominent brands of anti-infectives to the market, which continue to be popular with doctors to date. With over 700 brands, we are number 1 in anti-infectives in India and have also been witnessing constant growth in other therapeutic areas such as gastrointestinal, pain and analgesics, vitamins, minerals and nutrients, neuropsychiatry, dermatology, and cardiodiabetology. We are making steady inroads into the exciting OTC products market with pain relief balms, pregnancy test kits, and condoms. Constant innovation has ensured that our products succeed at a global level. Today, our markets extend to more than 50 countries worldwide. We are growing rapidly in majority of the markets through our subsidiaries and strategic acquisitions. To constantly meet the demands of the global population, we have 20 manufacturing units in India and in the United States. Since inception, Alkem has maintained a strong focus on research, for we believe that there is always a better solution. Today, over 500 scientists are working actively to create more efficient formulations across various therapeutic areas. Through its journey of 4 decades, Alkem has steeply risen to become the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. The thrust of the company's success comes from the vision and direction of our legendary founders, Mr. Samprada Singh and Mr. Basudev Narayan Singh, who are among the most respected personalities in the pharma industry. Serving humanity involves serving people in different ways, and our CSR initiatives have impacted communities in myriad ways, from providing healthcare to encouraging sports. Alkem undertakes diverse community initiatives to uplift the disadvantaged sections of the society. We will always be committed to provide people with smiles, health, and unlimited opportunities to achieve their dreams. Alkem Laboratory, extending life care beyond boundaries. The world over, Businesses exist to solve people's problems. And when a business is about providing healthcare,
Doctor, your trust and confidence while prescribing a brand comes from its quality, thereby consistency in delivering results. Delivering a quality product that ensures consistent results needs to pass through stringent manufacturing processes. At Alkem, Zone is manufactured at state-of-the-art WHO and GMP certified Sikkim plant. Each and every vial of Zone passes through 50 different quality checks at different manufacturing steps. 11 checks done at cleaning, sterilization and drying of machine parts. 9 checks done at washing of vials. 9 checks done at sterilization and depyrogenation. 5 checks done at blending. 10 checks done at vial filling. 6 checks done at dispensing. Moreover, Zone is powered with advanced nanotechnology, which achieves particle size of less than 30 microns and helps in rapid and deeper penetration into infected tissues. 50 stringent quality checks powered with cutting-edge nanotechnology give Zone the X factor. Doctor, prescribe Alkem's #1 prescribed injectable antibiotic Zone with trust and confidence. Zone, the first shot, sure shot injectable antibiotic in typhoid fever, gastroenteritis, RTI, UTI and meningitis.